Sure. Right, guys? Hopefully you can hear me. I'm gonna turn down my volume here. So we are. I had some difficulty last session because apparently you can't use copyrighted music on. Let me see if I can. Sorry about that. Chat. Uh, okay. Yeah, we're gonna continue working on this. And yesterday I had some issues. I was listening to music on on YouTube, and apparently they frown upon that sort of thing. So, but this time we are going to be continuing this sculpture. As you can tell, this is what I've gotten this far. I'm probably going to bring out the orbit just a little bit more, and I'm making them a little bit too old. I think I'm going to decrease it a little bit, but this fro, this superciliary arch on him, needs to be a little bit more eminent. So that's going to be my goal. I have them kind of looking off to the side, and it might be difficult on camera to actually see it, but I'll let me plug in my computer as well. Should have done that before, but you know how that is. Yeah. Plugged in. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. But I will just be working nice and quietly. I also found my favorite tool. I like this, and I don't know if you guys can tell. Mm. These are the tools I like using. And focus on this. Yeah. So these little dental tools work really well. And this was my favorite because it's flat. I like to keep the geometry of the sculptures nice and flat. Some other tools I'll be using. There's these little wire tools. I made this myself with guitar string. And on the other is actually a spoke from a bicycle. And then this, one of the things with working with the water clay and oil clay is that oil clay really stains everything. With water clay, you just wash it in water and you're done. But, yeah, I'm going to use this one for now. Okay, let's turn this one off. I like to keep things nice and sharp, especially in the beginning. That's why I like this tool. It's a flat tool. And also I don't want to lose the kind of like imperfect nature of like this clay. I think one of the issues that happens is that when you sculpt, you want to kind of edge everything out. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. beard. I just like to keep lumps of it. I'm not interested in like doing every little strand, but I will kind of make some marks like that once in a while and just even brush it with your finger. It'll take care of a lot of the issues. If you're new here, make sure you hit like and subscribe. I think it helps. We've been stuck at 29,000 subscribers for a while. So this, right now it's too blocky. So one of the things I want to do is like smooth them out. It's not as bony in real life. And I do have my reference. Of the, so I just keep that going. There we go. And then we'll do this part. Same over here. Bixby created it, Godzilla on my channel. I'm gonna check out your channel. Go to the channel. Yeah, you are really into Godzilla. I'm looking at your channel now. Let's see videos. Jira one. I don't think you can hear the sound or so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up like some Godzilla stuff. Godzilla would be a nice a new sculpt. I've never done Godzilla. I think the temple needs to be wider. I like looking around. So it's difficult getting a likeness. There we go. All of these little wrinkles just add years to him. And I don't know if I want to make him too old. But he was beaten by the sun. So if you don't want him to be that old, you're going to have to fill in all of these little. It takes me a while to kind of like look around the sculpture and like make clueless at this point because I do struggle with like the likenesses. It's gonna have eyebrows, but like this part of him is one of the things that really stand out. I think his beard might have to be a little bit bushier here. So I think the hair is a little bit. I'd have to come more to the front because he's got a more pronounced headline here. Where's my? You know, it's cold, so I have everything on even. This is Jim Clive and finally get a section of something that's noticed painting. And kind of part of it one way or to the left here. Like I lean back, you look at the sculpture, and I'm actually looking at the screen, looking, I have my camera hooked up to my computer. So I look at the computer and it tells me a lot of stuff because it is essentially like I'm looking at it in the mirror. But it's very difficult to get a good likeness in my opinion. It's should see that. And I don't really need these very good. Yeah. I'm making them kind of gaunt. Maybe I don't know. And this part, I think there's just too much on it. I see that weird. I kind of figure out the specifics later. Hopefully you guys can hear me. It is a Sunday. Let's see, is that really focused? Let me check my camera. I can look at some of the things here. Oh, hey Hans, thanks for coming by. Yeah, it's taken a while to do, but it's I don't know, it's going to take me way too long. I think my thing is this year I wanted to create quicker sculptures, but it's not working. I have to kind of slow down. Some coffee there, coffee action there. Our snow has not disappeared yet. It's really annoying. I think I'm gonna work it from this vantage point this way. I think I'm making this a little bit too hollow. And I think that's the reason it looks too long. So I'm just going to, Water-based clay in the winter is difficult to work with. It's mainly because my studio is just so cold. I don't know. I think I've shown you guys this before, but I mean, do that. This is how I have it set up. That's the right there. Let's see. So rotate this. Sorry. So right here, I have a oil heater, a tile, and you can see my clay on top of that. Yeah, this actually kind of keeps it nice and warm. And if I ever want to warm up the clay, I'll just kind of set it on here. Because it's been on for a while. It really helps. It's actually like a great idea. I should patent it. And on the floor, I have another thing I like to use. It's my heat gun. This works really well. You just give it a good zap, and I do that often. And I'm just using like my desk. That's my setup there. You can see I have a little turntable right here that kind of rotates. Usually when I work with water clay, I have like a model stand, but I have it in the shed and it's frozen. Everything is frozen outside. I can't get to it. And I got my laptop. This is like a gaming laptop, so it's quite powerful. And then I have this that I just bought. It's a, instead of wiring directly to the internet modem, you just use outlets. And that seems to keep the connection a little bit more stable. That's what I struggled with last time. And of course, I got the camera. The camera is just like a regular camera. Canon 90D. It's kind of old, but it's like one of the last ones that used this, the, the lenses that I have. Let me see. Nice heater. Sometimes I just plop some clay on a lamp with the oldest. Yeah, that's a great idea too. I've known artists that have done that. They use heat, like heat lamps. But this oil heater also keeps me warm. That's the benefit of it. Otherwise, I'd be freezing. Actually, one of the another thing I use is like a diesel heater. It's like one of those Chinese diesel heaters, and I have it hooked up, and it's been running pretty much since winter. It's really reliable. I recommend that. So for this phase, yeah, could be better. That's for sure. I'm not happy with it. And also, I think one of the things is I'm making him too old because of all of this that's happening here. So I'm gonna try and control it. This is actually no fun. I mean, look at this. Don't ever do this, guys. When you get clay, don't mix it. You see that? Because I really like the monster clay, but I like to keep it all together. But for this, it's got like that middle here and I want, and I'm gonna take my, mm, yeah, post up in the comments too if you're watching. Like, where do you think I should be sculpting next? One of the things I struggle is like being motivated to sculpt the next thing. I was thinking about sculpting a female nude or one with drapery, but this far I don't have an idea. I don't mind doing portraits too. Because if you have like somebody that you would like to sculpt for the next session, let me know. Let me see, I'm not using these little tiny tools. Yeah, see that? That's the thing. And then when you have like all the clays mixed together, it's one color here, one color there. I think I got to be more consistent with the streams. So right here, that's where the eyebrow is going to start. So, and he's got kind of bushy ones. This is the problem now. You make it too bushy, it's not gonna look as nice. We also don't have any heated towels a lot here. So I'm gonna, yeah, I had struggled to figure out what I should create. So I can't help you on that. Yeah, well, if you have any ideas, let me know. The problem is there's too many ideas. When you have too many ideas, so it's hard to pick one. And if you have a art channel, post up in the comments below. I'd really like to see what artists are creating. I get a kick, and I tell everybody I know, it's like, oh, somebody came from South Africa, somebody came from New Zealand to watch me. It's crazy. So post up in the comments if you have a channel. I'd like to check it out. Yeah, like I had somebody from India, people from India watching my channel. Hopefully, it's not a bot, but this one. You guys want to see one of the best things about oil clay? You can do this easily. You can do it in water clay, but not as you can do that and sculpt this one, sculpt underneath. Because this is actually a very neglected thing. So if you do it like that, you can turn it like this. I mean, I actually kind of carry it around with me sometimes, and I'll sculpt it like this, or just like a baby. And that way you can kind of see like if this arch is, symmetrical. I can tell my nose is not symmetrical just by doing this. Very cool. But, because this is hopefully, if I print it out, so if my goal is going to be to scan it and then make a print, it's a lot simpler. And actually, this is actual size, can fit a regular 3D printer. I'm probably going to sculpt off air as well, because I think I want to give you guys different subjects for sculpting. But I kind of like this. It used to be. I wish this sort of thing existed when I was getting into sculpture, having like somebody that actually sculpted it and you would actually see all the imperfections. That's actually more useful than the polished sculpture videos. One artist that does this a lot, and I recommend you guys check him out, is Andrew Joseph Keith. He does that a lot. I mean, he's got like a big channel. He's one of the biggest sculptors, I think, on the YouTube, and he does a lot of good content. He does mostly like instructional stuff, but and I think he's like out in Idaho or something. Yeah, really interesting guy. Andrew Joseph Keith, and he's been doing a lot of stone work. If my little stream works, I might do some wood carving as well, but I would have to like take it outside. It's so, it is just so freaking. Look at this. I have my little elbow still here, right beside me. Let me show you. Oh, right there. So I carved this. It's, it actually looks better on. Man. It actually looks better in person, but I carved that out of oak. And here's the thing, too. You leave. This is what I don't like about wood. It creates cracks. You see that crack? It's like you spent a lot of time on it, and boom, all of a sudden you have like a huge crack. And I also have more sunlight here. I don't know if even does that look better with the sunlight? Oh no, no. What I like about this is that it basically gives you a little bit of this aspect. It is nice to have just a little bit of light here. All right, yeah, maybe not. All right, coffee. I want to separate the eyebrow. Yeah, I think one of the things I want to do, if you guys are watching, is hey, Rainy Day, thanks for subscribing. One of the things I want to do is actually like do a sculpture and have you guys sculpt along with me. I think most of you guys are sculptors. So if I give you reference, we can kind of sculpt together. That'd be kind of cool. It's like an art class. That'd be great. When would be a good day to sculpt? Friday? Most people are home Friday. I'm not a hip kid, so I don't go out and party on Fridays. I just stay home. So maybe add a little bit more. So here, at this point, we're just adding a little bits of clay. You don't want to add too much. We kind of like done the majority of like the bulk of it. Now it's really just kind of pushing like little bits. This column on him actually is very deep right here. Um, One says, art class sounds interesting. Just the time difference would be a bit difficult, but whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking, I wish I could see your sculptures, as you're working. That'd be awesome. Maybe I can start a Discord and then you upload your progress there. Then, yeah, with a Discord server, I think you can upload your work there, and I can like look at it. We can upload stuff. We don't have to be in the same time zone. But yeah, I think one of the things I'm finding about this my YouTube channel is that people are in different time zones. There's there seems to be more interest in sculpture in other countries than it is in where I am in the United States. I think I told you guys like I um I was going to teach a class at a place around here, and like they couldn't get enough students signed up. Which me, but I think the other person that was because I would actually like that if I was teaching a class with a model. I would pay the model a little bit extra. I'm like, hey, could I stream you? Maybe wear something over your nips. That'd be, and then we're getting like a person for free or a model for free. Models are the biggest hurdle in my area. They make six figures. So this little bag here, the eye, it's not the eyelid, it's just I forgot the name of it. It's it's a little bit more distinct on this. There. Then, as I make the eyelid, it kind of gets diffused dirty notches. I need a smaller tooth for this. I can have that small tooth. Yeah, I think I'm just looking it. You bump you in the forehead here. Uh, keep my slowly too. This would be so much easier with watercolor. Would be the big moves. I want it to be a little bit fluid. I really like that monster clay. If you're gonna pick a normal clay, pick a monster clay. JMac is great if you want to do something that looks a little bit more natural. But I think that even just monster clay, even aesthetically looks better. Monster clay is definitely the one you want. But they made it so expensive. It's just clay. It's oil clay. But JMac clay, it's beautiful the same way water clay is beautiful. So yeah, I think by smoothing it out, it did better. I think the frontal eminence here needs a little bit more. But using the heat gun really works out. I mean, if you put the heat gun to oil clay, and I think maybe I'll do like some wax sculpture. I haven't done that in a while. Yeah. The problem is that in the shed, when you have it in the shed, like you should see the shed. It's I can't get to it. It's full of ice. It's like you know what they call the snow here now? Snowcrete. She makes it concrete and snow. Yeah, it's like a 3 inches of ice on top of the snow. Not even like a snowblower will get it. I was out today with some ice cleaning for the driveway, and that took forever. And it's tough. There's people that want you to like clean their driveway, and they want to give you $50. That's that's not $50 worth of work, unfortunately. Oh, you do forging? Huh. You're forging some stainless steel tools for myself and my friend's house. Wow, that's cool. I've thought about getting a forge as well and learning how to do that. That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen like some crazy YouTube videos where guys they have forges and they're making like these beautiful knives and swords. They'll make like great tools out of like just a bag of nails. Yeah, to me that's amazing. Okay, for this, yeah, I mean I'd love to like get into forging. That's just another hobby for me, but man, I love seeing those guys. Like I'm always watching like guys woodworking. I have no skill for woodworking. Like I'll do sculptures and wood. But the guys that do like the fine woodworking just amaze me. Like you look up wood working in Japan. It's such good craft, but it takes I don't even know. Let me look at the styles and looking at yeah, this book actually might be maybe a couple of must here. See, I'm always like making changes. I'm always like moving things around. The thing is, I don't want it to be a caricature. Actually, characters are fine. It's just that's what I was going for. So this part actually kind of has to come up this way. And then forward. So that way it'll show the eyebrow bit. And then you have the hair or the beard. You have the sideburns here. Then the beard starts to go this way. That, alright. Should be a little bit more distinct here. Also, I'm gonna give him a little bit more neck as well here. It's taking a while to do this. But I was actually expecting to do this a little bit quicker. Yeah, creatives have respect for a lot of creatives. Yeah, absolutely. Man, yeah, I just love watching. Like, there's a guy I watch, and all he makes is staffs, like walking sticks. I forgot his name. I know he's got a dog named Pearl, but all he does is like these beautiful walking sticks, and he just sits there and carves them out of it with a knife. Makes a snake, like going up the walking stick, and then he burns it. He burns the wood so it has that. It's not cheesy. So it looks cool. Let me think. So this way, you guys are not getting the exact like vantage point that I'm having. I'm actually like looking at the so if I'm looking at straight this way, you're actually getting that. There's a little difference. But one of the things I suggest for people when you do sculpture, don't get carried away with the oil clay version of like smoothing things out. Don't smooth it out. I think that's my biggest mistake is trying to, it's almost like robotic. If you look at 3D print, if we do a 3D version of this, all the imperfections would be actually not even imperfections. It actually gives it character. It's like the human part of it. This part. It kind of gets hidden with the 3D print. So take advantage of that having a version of the sculpture that was made by a person. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, yeah. Like this part. It's just a little bit more heavy here. Because you have enough of this from here all the way down. It goes to that corner of the mouth. And his eyebrow. Yeah, it is arch is pretty prominent. The coloring of the clay also doesn't really help. It would be better just to have one single shade. Let's see if I can use the wire tool to kind of do this. And that's the monster clay. Like that greenish color is the monster clay. And I also don't. I mean, from this vantage point, you draw in the hairline. So zygomatic. Now zygomatic is actually, I think, has to be a little bit further down, but it does have that look. And then you have the sideburns here. And the beard kind of curves this way. And then you have a beard here, mustache. Yeah, mustache up pretty cool. And yeah, he's got this very prominent. I think I was right. I think too much. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good technique to dull your eyes and blur your eyes out. It does make a big difference. The yeah, the beard is that the hair is actually one of the hardest parts that I've in sculpting anyway. It's so hard to do hair. Whenever I have a model that's bald, you're like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Just keep it minimalist. Like with female models, I'm like, hey, can you tie your hair back? But hair is just so difficult to do, And back in the day, you, the ideal was like curly hair. You still see that. I mean, imagine David's hair. David, Michelangelo's David. That's difficult to do. I mean, that guy knows his sculpt, that's for sure. Yeah, and also, yeah, make sure that it's a little bit more rougher. I've done sculptures and like midway, I'm like, oh man, I really like how it looks. It looks kind of like dynamic. And then as you like go and you add more details, you use that dynamic quality to it. But I think a lot of it is that kind of like unfinished look, like this. It looks good from a distance, but once you start to refine too much, it either looks like a 3D printer made it, and you see that a lot in the YouTube guys, and I'm guilty of that, of making things, they're too smooth, too polished, but the best thing is just like, if you be a little bit more fluid with it, don't be robotic. Yeah, there's like so much cold air coming in through the window. And also the best thing about this, you just take your heat gun, it's around now. Even the beard, if you just do this, just a little bit, just diffuse it a bit. Or that makes a big difference. Actually, you know what? In a way, that makes it look like wax. When wax is shiny, it doesn't look like wax. When you're too covered, right? But wax is another medium that is not as should be used more. But wood sculpture, that's another one of those things that more people should be getting more into. You know what? It's cheap. Everybody wants to carve marble, but carving marble, it costs money. Marble is very expensive. Wood is cheap. I mean, you can go and find it in the middle of the road. The problem is finding wood that's good enough. It's not going to crack. You want hardwoods. Mhm. Yeah, I'll leave hair for last. Yes, that's exactly what you should do. All of those details that saving it for last is good. I like your work because it is much more fluid and dynamic than mine, and I do appreciate. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean it takes a while to. Yeah, I think in the beginning I started to push myself towards details, but I think the best thing is really just to do things a little bit simpler. I think that's even like artists, like really great artists, they keep it simple. Even when you consider graphic design, for example, there's a saying, simple is better. Oh no, no. The other saying is keep it simple, stupid. That's the what they would say. But yeah, simple is better. I think that's an acronym as well. But I think most art, most good art is just simplicity. Because anybody can make something realistic. I mean, have you ever seen like sculptures and art that is photorealistic? I've seen sculptures that are hyper realistic, and I hate them. Like, I'm not, that doesn't please me at all. But when I see something made by, um, oh, there's an artist like in the 19th century, they're realistic, but they're not over the top. You know, the 19th century really was one of those uh, eras where they did reach a high of like art. Well, previous to that, it was really like the Greeks and the Renaissance, but the 19th century was all about studying the influence, but also because it had a combination of like impressionism. Artists took a lot of like liberties. If you see like realists, their art was really cool. Like it was romanticism. You know, there's also like neoclassical sculpture that's really cool. But in the 1960s, that's when people started focusing on hyperrealism of photography, painting, and of sculpture. That's my least favorite of every movement. And so it's not about creating something like this very realistic. I actually don't like it. I appreciate the skill, but it leaves me cold. To me, yeah, like I mean, look, you look at Michelangelo's David. It's now realistic, like the 1960s hyperrealism. The David, the Hellenistic period was not realistic. That's what makes it good. It's all idealized. They made things better. Ah, the Greeks they used to be really good at stuff. Man, I haven't heard from the Greeks in a long time. I actually have a friend of mine. He's a extremely good sculptor, and he is very much into the whole Greek thing. His sculptures actually look like Greek sculptures. He lives in Wisconsin. His name is Thanasi. Very Greek. Yeah, the Greeks, they have a great English. You know what? This temple needs to be a little bit wider. Yeah, put some meat on it. I think I made a square. Actually, no, another really cool idea would be to sculpt a portrait of a zombie, from The Walking Dead, because you're really just removing those. It's not that doesn't seem that difficult. So if I just remove here, the reason I'm putting like this going this way, you actually see the shine in the hair. It's when it starts to curve down. I'm not a fan of the sculpture. I try to, finish it. I just have to push myself. Kind of this way. Maybe here. Yeah, that's a little bit. These little wire straightening tools. Uh, that we need. This Sunday work for you guys for class? Less is more. Yep, that's exactly what it should be. Teeth on which tool? Let me see. Mm, I have to bring up the camera here. All right. This is actually like one of my favorite tools. Right. Yeah. So, um, the best thing about these tuners is that they actually have the little serrated teeth. And the way you make it, get a spoke from a bicycle, you need to file it flat and then take a Dremel and make little groove marks. Because if it doesn't have those teeth, this sinks in too much into the um, the clay. It digs in too much. So let me show you another one. And this is just a different version. This one's different because it's more of a smoothing tool with teeth. And it is basically just a brass tube. This one is the same thing. It's a spoke from a bicycle. And I made like little teeth on it. You have to have teeth on these tools for sculpture. The problem is when you go to a pottery store or a ceramics store that has pottery tools, they are all without the serrated edges. So you have to make your own. And this one, it is just a guitar string. And the guitar strings are great because they're very easy to make. But they break. They're not as durable as the ones uh, with complete steel. Let me show you another one. This, actually, I haven't used this in a while. Hopefully you guys can see it. Is that better? No. So this is a wire tool, but it is just for, I use it for water play. You can see it's got a string of wire, and that creates this serrated style. It actually works well. I prefer the spoke where the cuts because I do more detailed work, but when we get bigger in the tube, we need this, or this actually works really well. Mhm. Right there. So this loop, that's actually like what I like. I don't like this part as much. This works really well. And show you this. This is a tool, right? This one that I got from a ceramics place. I barely use it. This kind of roundness of the tool doesn't work that well. I did make some cuts in here to see if I would work it. So it doesn't work well, but what this does work for is for digging out the hollow of a sculpture. Because it's so big, it's metal, so it's durable. You can kind of stick this into the head and twist it like this and remove the bit. So basically, I did these tunnels throughout the sculptures and remove clay using this and some other tools. And this one, this is what happens with a lot of sculpture tools. They break apart. That's why it's important to make your own. But this shape is, in my opinion, useless. So if you buy something, you're never going to use this shape. It's just not for sculpture. Let's see if there's any of those rest notes in here that, huh, I've even made tools out of pencils. You know, just put with a little ferrule, put like a piece of wire, and boom. But don't tend to use those. You might as well just get like a real stick. Um, all right, hopefully you guys can see that. Hey, Humesh, thanks for coming in. Zombie can be cool, but you need to make sure you understand the facial anatomy and muscles underneath the top layer. But it seems, yeah, that's actually That's a good point because they're humans, right? But if I was to do a zombie, I would absolutely sculpt a skull, muscles on top, and then I would start tearing it apart. That'd be, it would be pretty awesome. Yeah, yeah, the tools are important. That's for sure. So I'm actually like surprised people are in on a Sunday. It must not be, it must be snowing where you guys are. Olivia was here just last time, and she's in Florida. I've seen her in the chat often, and she told me there was actually going to snow in Florida. That's so weird and rare. It might snow for like 5 seconds, but it's still strange. So we're telling there's going to be soft. And, I actually don't want to add too much detail there. I'm going to take this. This weather just makes me want to go to Florida. I hate this weather. Or, if I would like this weather, I'd like to have a fireplace or something. I don't know, a fireplace. That'd be awesome. Sculpting by a fireplace. So this part, you know, looking at it here, it actually has a little bit more to the front of animals. Yeah. It's a little bit more. There's these two bumps right in the middle here. I keep adding it and I keep removing it. So I get some of this kind of cloud. Told you I hate that I did this. Mixing two clays together. It's never a good idea. Just a little bit here. You don't need to do this. Yeah, I've actually enjoyed doing like animal sculptures as well. Animal sculptures are so difficult. I'm so used to doing like humans, but there's like some amazing artists. Like I like this artist that's in England. His name is Nick Bigby. And he does, I think, probably the best animal sculptures of anybody alive. And there's some like guys in California. There's this guy named David Simon, really good sculptor. And I'd love to go to California and like take a class with him. Nice weather. I think he's in LA. He's like, shoot, drop two tunes. It's 28.2 Celsius here at 10 at night. Wow, 10 at night. That's it is 3 p.m. here, 82 degrees. Oh wow. That is so warm. Ooh, man, what is it? I don't even have my phone, but it's freezing outside right now. It's just so we got hit by snow and apparently like every single government around here was not expecting this. And driving around is difficult. The main streets are clear, but there's lanes that are closed because they plowed into the ramps and everything. So there's a little bit more accidents. There's cars like in the middle of in the shoulders that are stuck, and the plows kind of forced them to be full of ice, so they can't get out for until the ice melts, which might take quite a bit of time. Yeah, I did post a horse STL. Yeah, if you go to Thingiverse and look up Sculptum, you'll see that I posted like two horse anatomy things. So Thingiverse, it's 3D as those STLs. And I also put the deer. The deer I just made a while ago. It's actually really cool. Yes. Yeah. So the deer. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's exciting. Whoa, I made this really happy. But that's the deer that I have here. I'm probably gonna take it apart pretty soon. But I scanned it. That's the beauty of it. You can scan stuff and then you can butcher it. This is bothering me. It's part. I think it's kind of steel and lighter. Like at this point, I'm just making just little moves. Oh, my goodness. Is this better? Is the light better this way? Yeah, I think it is. I'm gonna choose the get some natural light for it in here. It's I'm just going to super grab this. I just need to have a tiny bit of light from the moon. I think that kind of helps, right? That helped a little bit. Kind of see yeah, it does help. It's not as dramatic. I like the dramatic lighting, but this does help. So if you cross hatch like these tools here, this is the one I keep using for this type of clay. It's perfect because it's got that sharp edge like that at an angle. Doesn't look at an angle in the video, but it's got like a right angle and a serrated edge. But that what you do is cross hatch like you would in a drawing, and that kind of gets rid of a lot of the imperfections here. The most there, you're gonna have to. I don't think I can get into it. I need smaller tools for that. But that's the thing. You should actually practice once in a while. Practice using a larger tool to do a small sculpture. If you limit yourself with tools, it's actually better. It's not worse. If you have too many tools, I think you do worse. As an exercise, if you're watching this and you're a sculptor, do a sculpture and you limit yourself to two of your regular tools. Maybe this and a flat tool. Try to do a sculpture using a paint scraper. Like paint scrapers are really good. What that does is like it forces you to look more into the geometry instead of creating like very detailed uh, things, which it's not part of details are not really that important. Because when you go to any gallery, you are essentially looking at artwork that from afar looks great. Then when you come together, it's it doesn't make sense. You take a step back and then it makes sense. When I'm sculpting my head this close to the sculpture, I'm getting a whole different view as if I am like sculpting from afar. So if I'm like looking from maybe where you guys are at, it looks different. And I think that's one of the things we should try to concentrate. Limit yourselves. I think some of the best things I've done are things I've done with limited tools. And, actually force yourself to do less detail. Seems like it's actually counterintuitive, but I think it's a good exercise. One of the things that happens is that nowadays everybody's artwork looks exactly all the same. And it's actually kind of like a shame. The internet made things so similar. Even now we have AI, and AI is creating things to look almost exactly the same as everybody else. So there's a danger of relying on that. I think his mustache is a little bit more. He's got a weird mustache. Ah, man, it should be a mustache. I don't know. It looks so cool. The whole beard thing, though, such a. Everybody's got a beard now. The worst thing is that if I try to grow like a mustache and it would be spotty mustaches. So I'm blending it together using this. This tool is actually just like a wire that gets bent, and it works well. But one thing you're going to find when you're doing sculpture, you're going to rely on a few tools. You'll never use, you want to get like a kit or something, but what really happens is that you're going to be using the same thing over and over. You just get used to it, kind of like the way it feels, one or the other. You like the marks. For me, I like these flat tools. Flatter tools with right angles. How they ones together. It's choppy. And here's the other thing. If I scrape it like this, it creates a different texture on the surface. And actually, in watercolor, that's important because it does show up in the final product. On this, it won't show up just because you're doing watercolor and you make a mold of it. But with watercolor, if those are coming to the surface, you want to be able to create that using different texture while you're sculpting, and it does show up. So take your finger, kind of knock down a couple of those details. You're gonna do that. Yeah. I'm like taking chunks of the for this, adding a little bit there. What part are you in? How far north? I am in Washington, D.C. Is the camera out of focus? Yeah, I'm in Washington, D.C. in Maryland. So I'm how many what do you call that? The Maryland or the DMV. The DMV is Washington. Yeah, this is another one focus. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, okay, let's work that better. Okay, so getting coffee ordered in. Um, yeah, it changes the lighting a lot and the difference perspective. Yeah, the lighting is usually I have one light on the sculpture when I want to see the bones and everything and make more dramatic lighting. But yeah, don't alarm me. Check the ear sizes against each other. Yeah, oh my God, yeah. You're right. Yeah, there's always that. Yeah, the ears are definitely wrong. I'm like looking at it. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, this one's way too small. Always something. Yeah, I was working on the ear yesterday, so but that's a good tip. Yeah, the ears. It's yeah, I might be wrong. Yeah, no, you're right. Those little marks do show up in the final product, even when there is clay. But with the wax and the fettling, some marks will be lost. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing too. Oh, got those ears. Yeah, it's funny. Like you work on something and then you get used to it and you make mistakes. And actually, I think there's a limit how many hours you really should work on one individual thing. I should have most of this going at the same time. Yeah, I mean, here's my evident tool, just the caliper. Calipers are good for what I'm doing. Yeah, definitely. This is definitely too small. Lefty, yeah. No, yeah, you definitely see what's wrong, but I appreciate that. I'm glad. Let me know what you think of the forehead. Uh, that's important. That's I've been trying to like see if there's other artists around here. Because it would be nice to kind of know more artists, but I've mentioned this before. The arts in this area, Washington D.C., it's just I don't know. There's a lot of artists, but they all kind of keep to themselves, and it would be nice. I think the better artists I've seen, they're not in this area. This area kind of chews you up and spits you out. It's so expensive to live here. There's really not that many great benefits. There's art schools, art centers, but they're so expensive. You know, and the funny part is that artists don't have that much money, but the classes around here are expensive, so you're not really contributing to the area. The people who take classes around here are mostly like retired housewives or just retired people. But the classes are just so expensive that anybody that's an artist or starting out as an artist, you just don't have any ability of help. I mean, a class around here now, like it's drawing class is like $400. And then on top of that, you have the model fees. You have to pay for models. You- One of the cool things is that you can take scrape little sections of this off and then take it and add it to your model. And make sure you look at stuff from underneath. That's what I like about oil clay. You can just a little bit, with water clay, moving things around could break it. Let's see. I'm looking at the. His forehead is taller. I'm telling you. So on the way. Yes. Hmm. Yes, yes. Well, I think I made these. Yeah, this is a little bit too much. I've done this like multiple times, so just need to make this things off. At this point, I'm just my goal is to do more portraits. You see this here? It's too much. So the buccal fat tone is actually pretty low, but this part needs to be a little bit softer. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit damaged. If you look at that three-quarter profile of that on camera, it's a little bit damaged. So he's got a little bit more fat here, and then there's a depression. Yeah, I was wondering, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people from other countries coming to the channel. And I think when I sculpt, there's always like the morning at noon when most people here are at work. So expensive, yeah. And I've had circles that isn't funny. I also have five head. Yeah. Big foreheads. Very true. Yeah, like for some reason on the screen it looks like not sharp. I wonder if the camera feed on my Streamlabs is actually a little bit nicer, like higher quality. Let me look at these. This, this background here needs to be even more um, uh, this. And then just get over the top of little stuff. Yeah, get some some hard clay here. Clear the night. So, what kind of sculptures do you do? Let's see. Yeah, I like the. That's actually a good thing. That's a good look. They used to do these drawings in the 19th century called tetes de expression, basically heads of expression. And they would make very extreme expressions of sculptures as practice. But but I do like the judgmental look. Um, I think his nose actually might be less pointed. I have to add a little bit more here. Like at this point, it's just such little tiny movements. So you do most of the figure sculpture? Yeah. Yeah, like I started doing like animal sculpture just because it was a little nicer. But not nicer, just different. You learn a lot more stuff, and it does help your figure sculpture as well. So it's a class that church out when on his, he definitely has a very pronounced. It does help. Do that's one of the things too that sets a lot of people apart in sculpture. I think it's people stick to one thing, but it's important to kind of venture out and do other subjects as well. I think they all help. And subjects and mediums. Lack of drawing is also one thing that I noticed a lot of sculptors. Yeah, this part is that's the only how is it? I get too wide that be careful. I would get it's too wide. Yeah, that look right there, that's a very judgmental look. Oh yeah, thanks for coming in, man. I know it's late over there. I can't believe you're in South Africa. I'm amazed. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Good chatting with you. All right, so we hopefully we'll finish this one soon. We'll looking at my reference. There's parts that so let's spend just ones. I keep going back and forth with the social. I mean, I've done this a couple of times. So you move and add a lot of this over here. So that means that this one. Also the same thing. Again. Yeah, I can't believe South Africa. It's crazy. It's crazy to see that people come from all sorts of places. I think yesterday I had somebody from Brazil, and that was fun. I like doing the strain early Portuguese because I speak Portuguese, but I'm not from Brazil. I speak Portugal. So at this point, I'm just adding like little bits of clay on my tool and then add it. It's so tiny. It's if I don't have tiny little hands. Yeah, you gave me a good tip. Ears of two different sizes. Cheers. Yeah, that's actually like a great thing. Sculpting live and having people actually like tell you like, hey, your stuff is wrong there. That's actually like a great benefit. They're all good. Oh, so I actually have to do this real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break, or maybe not. This is not particularly that long. So if you guys have any questions, I'll probably answer them doing this real quick. It's just doing the I'm going to take a little bit of a break, guys. A little intermission, 5 minutes, and we'll be back.
All right. Hmm.
We are back. The feed is not broken, which is good. The lights. Let's see if they make this light a little bit better.
I need to add a little bit more light
What?
here to the
Terrible.
camera. Give me a
Sent.
sec.
By the way, I'm like actually looking from the top down. So I think his head is misshapen. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna stop it for today here. If you have any questions, post up in the comments. But I don't know if I'm gonna keep streaming this one. I'm probably just gonna finish it and upload it. But thanks for watching, guys. I'm trying to do a little bit more faster sculptures, so hopefully that's going to be a little bit faster for the next one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.